Hey, what's up everyone? This is Silver Slayer. Welcome back for another video. Today we talk about gold reaching all-time highs for 2019, and I found an article from kitco.com. I'm sure you guys have heard of them. Link to the article will be in the description of this video. Make sure to smash that thumbs up button. We've been posting 2 videos every single day. Earlier I made a video, so go check that out. Go check it out. Go like, subscribe to channels like this. Subscribe if you are new, if you want to stay tuned for precious metals and the investing world. So anyways, let's get into this. This was an article posted June 18th, so on Tuesday, yesterday. And so it's very, very new, and it's talking about gold's prices, what's going on with gold. And I'm also curious to pass the question on to you. What do you think silver is going to be doing during this time? Silver usually is gold's little brother, and silver, especially the gold to silver ratio, are at interesting times right now, setting all-time highs around 90 plus to 1. And I'm really curious on what silver is going to do over the next couple of months, along with gold as well. So I'm going to start reading this article. Stay tuned in with me. So we talk about, or this article talks about, as we look at this year, besides from the rally which began mid-August in 2018 up to the former record high of this year, it is clear to see that that was possibly the only noteworthy and extended rally we've seen since 2017. So very bull, or bear market right now. This is the first sort of bull run for precious metals. This would be considered a bull run in my opinion. So if you see this chart right here, it's looking at, this goes all the way back to 2005. You can see gold just gradually just, rising, rising, rising. 2011, you see its peak, and this all these in the 2000s was from all the stuff with Y2K, all that going on. Then you see September 11th, the scare with the economy and all that, and that's really what pushed them. It held stable right there. And you see things start to die back down, and now it's been really stable, holding its position, a lot of stability right around that 11 to $1,400 range. That's really what it's been at. Right now though, in 2019, we see these all-time highs. Right here is 1350. So it's really looking positive for precious metals. As the dollar weakens or strengthens, it fluctuates or makes huge influences on the price. But anyways, let's get back to this article. Last year had an unusual characteristic at the beginning of the year, and that was in fighting the tooth and the claw track above 1350 to 1370 to match or exceed previous highs that have been made in the prior years. Multiple attempts to exceed this price point were all met with failure. Historically speaking, gold prices had insurmountable resistance at roughly 1350 to 1317 since 1370 since 2014. In October 2012, gold prices hit its final peak at 1800 and never looked back, or more appropriately, never looked up. From that moment forward, gold prices had a slow, methodical decline with consistent lower lows and consistent lower highs. This marked for one of the longest corrective periods of the decade. So that is true. There has to be a correction in any market, whether it's precious metals, stock markets, cryptocurrency. If something's going to peak that much, it has to have some correction. Just like if you see in 2011, there had to be a correction for the market to get healthy again. It's not healthy for something to just keep going up. There has to be, decreases and increases, buying points and selling points for any healthy investment or any healthy type of market or asset. So just as they say it's the darkest before the end of the tunnel, at the conclusion of 2015, gold prices hit the lowest trading point of the correction since reaching the all-time record above 1900. From there, gold prices lost roughly half of its value and traded for roughly $1,040 an ounce. Many analysts and investors became extremely bearish at this point. Were given that the extreme oversold market, majority calls from analysis were forecasting that gold could easily trade below 1,000, go to 800 an ounce. That extreme pessimism was absolutely a signal that a bottom was in place, and that was just people really losing faith, and they got desensitized to such a high number that when you see it going down, it really does bring fear, and that's when a lot of people panic sell, not having faith in the markets or the metals, and not really thinking about the bigger picture on the correction or what a secure bottom could be. Beginning in November 2015, market technicians identified a rounded bottom just prior to a dynamic and exceedingly strong rally, which took pricing off the lows at $1,040 and traded at a high of $1,375 before backing off. So usually it has a lot of resistance around that $1,375 range or $1,370 range. Like I mentioned before, it was stuck between 1350, 1370, and it usually backs off around there. I don't know if that's just people knowing that it's probably going to start correcting, and so they sell off right there, making the prices even harder to break that resistance, or if it's just, that's its natural price for this moment in time. I say this moment in time because I definitely think there's a lot more potential and a lot of undervalued factors going into the precious metal world right now, especially silver. But anyways, that price point 1375 became the brass ring that traders of the carousel consistently and unsuccessfully reached for on multiple occasions. While gold prices were able to come close to that price point, it still remains the highest value since the major multi-year correction. For once again, the brass ring is insight and feels as though there's a probability that the point will be surpassed and finally be able to break that major resistance that exists just below 1400, and that's what they're talking about. So this whole article is talking about this resistance that we're reaching, right when it gets around here. You can see in 2016, or actually it starts in 2014, that resistance, it goes back down. 2016-17 resistance, 2018 resistance. It's finally going to, it's looking like it's going to break that resistance right here. And if that happens, who knows what could happen? Obviously, there's many factors that will influence what happens over here in this these upcoming years. But whether it's an economic scare, whether it's a financial scare, whether something happens with whatever the case, just like let's go back to here. Let's go back to 2010, 2009. People had no idea that September 11th was going to be happening. So right here, investors might be saying that, yeah, any investor could be saying, it's going to start getting some resistance right here, not even knowing that that event's going to take place, which would make it even surge higher. So just like right here, we have no idea what the upcoming factors are going to be that's going to influence gold prices, whether it's the economical state, industrial, miners, stock markets. There's several different factors that could play into this that are going to cause huge things, especially the 2020 presidential election, which is coming up, and that usually causes a lot of scare in the economy as well. So that's another huge thing to keep in mind. Look at the bigger picture and weigh out, just think realistically about the situation, and keep down to earth, because there's definitely factors that are going to play. It's not just going to always be so easygoing or surface like behavior, especially when it comes to any type of investment. So let's go back to the article. So there is a perfect storm brewing, which could definitely take us to that price point. Even though the fundamental factors are absolutely different than 2008, there are still distinct similarities in terms of the willingness of these central banks to be extremely dovish and accommodative. The matter of fact is, whatever you want to call it, the central banks as well as the Federal Reserve are moving back towards quantitative easing. It seems the days of quantitative tightening have concluded, and fears of a slowing global economy have prompted the central banks to pivot by providing liquidity at lower interest rates. When we factor in the current trade war between the United States and China, potential conflict in Iran, potential conflict in North Korea, collectively these fundamental events, I believe, can only have one possible outcome: an extremely wild ride ahead. So that's more points he brings up. What we have going on with these different countries is definitely something to take in consideration when looking at the future prices or the potential prices of gold in the next coming months and years. I'm not sure, just like when you see price forecasts or price prediction charts, there's no way to really properly properly estimate or guesstimate, trying to measure what the price will be for sure, because there's so many unidentifiable factors that are going to be playing in part of the world and in part of these markets. People definitely tend to get more panicky and fearful when certain things are going on, especially the way the media portrays them, and that's going to determine how they invest their money and what they're investing their money in, especially in speculative markets. Gold and silver do have stronger standpoints since there are industrial uses that people, the technological uses that people use, and these industries are still going to be needing to buy them for. But if there's no profits with the miners, they won't be mining as much, which means there's going to be a lower demand to fit the supply. So that could also be another factor to think about when you are trying to price predict these things. But just generally speaking, though, there's so much potential, and it's definitely undervalued, especially silver. But I'm curious what you guys think about this. What do you think these prices are going to do? Do you think it's finally going to break out past this $1,370 range? And if it does, how high do you think it's going to go? I made a video a couple days ago talking about some articles, people speaking about how high gold really could go. So if you want to check that out as well, I'm more of a silver channel. I talk a lot about the precious metal we call silver. I'm definitely more of a silver enthusiast. I think there's much more potential in silver, especially looking at these gold to silver ratios. But I'm curious what you guys think. Make sure to like this video if you thought it was entertaining or educational. Make sure to subscribe if you're new. Thanks for tuning in. Stay tuned for more videos coming soon. Thanks, guys. This was Silver Slayer. I'm out.